Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Clangin and Bangin with Mikey, episode 281. And first things first, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, and happy Mother's Day to the dads who are playing both roles, man. This is always an interesting topic, man, because it's like I try to avoid social media on days like this or whatever it is because a lot of people get angry, a lot of people get upset, a lot of people get in their feelings, right? And it's like, and what it comes down to, bro, is that you guys had kids with the wrong individuals. Um, you guys had kids with people who didn't see you as worthy or whatever it is, or you pick bums, for lack of better terminology. Um, so now you stuck with this, right? Um, but in this podcast, what I want to talk about is not only that, but how a lot of women don't want to take accountability for their shit until it's the last play that they have left, or they don't even take accountability at all. And I've seen it play out for me personally in my relationships, and I've seen it play out with other people. And when it plays out with other people, I'm like, yo, it's like you can't sit there and blame him though, because you actively chose this guy, you actively did X, Y, and Z. You obviously laid down and had a kid with this dude or multiple kids with this dude. It's like, so at the end of the day, you don't get to sit there and say how bad of an individual he is, because last time I checked, kids can't choose their parents. The mother can choose their father can choose their mother. Kids are innocent in the situation, man. So it's like when all this shit pops off and people do X, Y, and Z, and I'm looking at it like, okay, but what does that have to do with the fact that you chose wrong? What does that have to do with the fact that you didn't check out the boxes? And my homegirl yesterday, me and her were talking, and she has her issues with her significant other, and so we talk about her relationship, we talk about the shit I got going on, my exes and all that shit too. And she said something. She's like, yeah, she's like, the one thing I love about you is the fact that you always take accountability, you know, and the fact that is like you don't look for other people to take accountability. You just take accountability for the role that you play. And she said, honestly, is like people know what the fuck they're doing. They know what the fuck they're doing. And if they want to sit there and play mind games with somebody, they can, but it's not gonna work out in their favor. Cause it never does. I don't care what people tell you. Um, so, and it's true. A lot of people will sit there and be like, "Oh well, I didn't, I didn't, like, I didn't expect you to do X, Y, and Z, yada yada yada." And you know what? They're right. You know. But it's like when you're adulting on somebody, when you're giving them attention, when you're doing X, Y, and Z, and they hit you with that, and like, what the fuck? It's like, what you mean? It's like, I thought it was moving, moving this way. What do you mean we're not moving this way? I've literally had girls tell me like, oh well, like, I enjoy the attention. Okay, let me fade all the way to black. Let me just leave you the fuck alone. Let me think that you have options when you really don't. You're confusing being visible to motherfuckers with having options. And it's always weird when women say that shit. And I'm like, yo, if you're such an option, then why do you keep picking the wrong motherfuckers? Why do you keep picking the dudes who just want to fuck you? Or why do you keep picking the dudes who are physically abusive, who are financially abusive, Or why do you keep picking the dudes who constantly cheat on you? It's like, you don't understand that you're the option, not them. It's like, wake up and think, and realize that your shit isn't as fly as you think it is, bro. It's like you have options because you got thirsty dudes in your fucking DMs, or you got options because of the thirst traps you post. It's like you don't have options. You have guys who want to fuck you, guys who want to make you a single mom, guys who want to do X, Y, and Z. It's like, and I hate to say this on Mother's Day, but it's true. a lot of these women, a lot of these women won't take accountability for this shit, and they want to sit there and blame the dude, but in reality, it's not the dude. It's not only the dude, it's them too. Like, where do you get off telling somebody else, oh yeah, X, Y, and Z, yada, 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 whoop de whoop? It's like, I remember asking this one girl, because, like, she would always post family photos and, like, X, Y, and Z, all this shit. And, like, then all of a sudden, it just stopped. It was, like, just her and the kids. And I'm like, yo, like, everything good? Because it's like, you know, like you would always post your family photos, your stories, all this shit. Not like now it's either just you yourself or you with your kids. It's like, yo, did you get divorced? And then she's like, no, you know, like we're good. I'm like, okay, like so, but it's just weird shit like that. It's like it's shit that people would do, and it's like it just doesn't make any sense. And the way I look at it, it's like, it's cool, it's whatever. You know, I don't really get too caught up in it. I don't really get too in my feelings about it, because why would you? And I think that's the most important thing, man. It's like you don't like it's not something that you should take lightly. It's not something that you should definitely, you know, gloss over. It's not something that you should just flat out ignore. And what I mean by that is like I've known women who've gotten divorced, and it's like, you know, like in their whole entire marriage they've been cheated on, and like, you know, and like they got the nerve to say like, oh, I don't trust men. It's like, no, you don't trust yourself, because not every man's gonna do you like your ex-husband did you. Not every man's gonna, you know, dog you out like that. You know, and like I hate when women say like, oh well, like she stayed and she endured and she did X, Y, and Z. It's like, yo, there's no such thing as moral victories when you're dealing with a cheater. You know, like I find that so hypocritical, because it's like it's almost like they want brownie points for that, and it's like you don't get brownie points for not knowing your worth and not leaving a situation. You know, it's I don't have any kids yet. I'm on the fence about having kids, cause let's be real, I'm 38. By the time that little motherfucker, or you know, my little girl leaves the house, I'm gonna be in my, you know, mid to late 50s, and I don't know about all that, bro. And it's just something that's, you know, that I think about from time to time, right? And it's like, yo, because I just went to my 20th high school class reunion. And it's like some of my classmates got kids who are out of school. You know, some of them got kids that are in high school. They're like, yo, that's fucking crazy. You know, and some of them got kids, you know, that are 2, 3 years old. It's like, and some of them got all three. And it's like, so it's like, but yeah, I just think that it's like to me, it's like it is what it is, and it's always interesting too. It's definitely not a conundrum of things, but it's the plethora of emotions that come with it, because it's like a lot of people will make that. Well, I've seen it from both sides too, where like people think, oh well, if I have a baby, he or she will act right. And like, no, they don't. They don't. If anything, it just makes the situation worse, and now you're stuck with this person long term for the rest of your life, because you got a kid with them. And yeah, and the way I look at it is just be mindful of what you do. Kids are a blessing. Literally almost every girl I've dated post college has, you know, had a kid or has a kid or kids. And the one thing about that, man, is like, even if you're not biologically responsible for that kid, being around kids will make you a better person, bro. It's like they will teach you shit about you that you had no idea. You know, you had no idea what, you know, how much you had to learn and how much you had to grasp and like what it is. And so it's like being around kids will just make you want to be better because it's like I believe myself. This is just me. It's always our job to protect these kids, man. Like what, like I said, whether it's you know, a girl that you're dating, a girl that you're married to, um, or even vice versa, man. It's like so. It's always our job to teach them how to handle themselves, how to conduct themselves in the world, because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Is that you know having that ability to be like, okay, boom, this is what you do, yada yada yada. Because if you do this, X, Y, and Z might happen. And and kids are innocent too to a point. A lot of these kids act like they know everything. They don't know shit. And it's always interesting too when you run into kids like that, because you can literally see it on their face, how lost in the sauce they are, or how naive they are, to certain things. And the way I look at it is like, yeah, it's something that should be definitely talked about, and something that should be definitely explored, because like I said, it is our job to make sure that these kids are okay. And I think Mother's Day, Father's Day, even if you're not the biological parent of that child, you should definitely step up to the plate. And even if you dealing with the mother or dealing with the father, whatever it is, um, make it known that you're here. Make it known that that you're not gonna go anywhere. You know, make it known. It's like, because a lot of these kids who are kids of single parents or kids going through a divorce, you know, their world is turned upside down. Like they may sit there and tell you, "Oh yeah, well I'm good, I'm this and that," but in reality, no, you're not. In reality, it's actually the opposite. Um, most of the most of the women I dated, whose kids I've met, the kids always ask about me. They always want to see me. They like whenever they do run into me, like their faces light up. So it's like, that just tells me, like in that time frame, you was actually a bright spot for them. It wasn't no, oh yeah, it's just Uncle Mike and yada yada yada. Like no, it's like when I get involved with somebody and they have kids, it's like it's like I may not be their dad, but I'm gonna be the best version of myself for them, and for me too. And I'm gonna always take accountability for the shit that happens. You know, and I remember telling my ex once, was like, yo, like you know, in case we don't work out, please know that your kids don't lose access to me. They don't lose access to a resource. They don't lose access to somebody who's a positive role model in their life. You know, just because we don't work out doesn't mean that they lose out. They lose out on me too. They don't. Because relationships are important, and understanding your role in the situation, and understanding that it's like just because something ends doesn't mean it really ends, right? Um, you can be romantically linked to somebody, and you guys have a falling out, whatever it is. Just make sure that you know, that you show the other person that you still care for. A matter of fact, don't even show them. Tell them. Let them know, like, yo, I still care about you. You know, you know, and let your actions speak louder than words, bro. You know. Now, I'm not saying that you gotta call or you gotta text or you gotta do whatever, because you don't. But at the end of the day, as I get older, I'm realizing how important it is to be emotionally intelligent, be emotionally aware, and just being present in every situation you're in, man. Because it's like you have no idea what the impact that you have on people and what it does to people, right? A positive impact. And it's just something that a lot of people don't experience. Because a lot of people will live, and believe me when I say this, a lot of people will live in their fight or flight mode for the entirety of their life and not know what it's like to have peace around them. Or a lot of people will self-sabotage something and like not realize like, oh, it's like it didn't work out because I haven't healed yet. Or when people tell me like, oh, I've healed, and then like no, you haven't. Because if you have healed, you wouldn't be saying that you've healed. And when people say that shit, I look at them like, yo, the fact that you think you're healed doesn't mean it means that you're not healed. It means that you have other things going on and that you don't want to deal with. And that's fine. But don't walk around saying that you're healed, saying that you're this, saying that you're that when you're not. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to the other person. It's not fair to your options that you think you have. And I think that's the most idiotic, most disingenuous, most selfish thing somebody can say or do is to say that I'm healed when they're not. Like, where do you get off telling somebody else that you're healed? Where do you get off telling somebody else that you got X, Y, and Z? Being healed doesn't mean that you say that you're healed. Being healed means doing the actual work, sitting with your emotions and possibly going to therapy and unpacking this shit, and whether it's your childhood trauma, or shit like that. Because it's like, my only regret with starting therapy is that I wish I started it sooner. I wish I started it at 18 versus 37. I would have been light years ahead, 20 years ago, if I knew what I know now. My romantic relationships probably would have been better if I had the appropriate tools in my toolbox, to go through certain shit, right? And it's always something that's, I think about from time to time, because I'm like, yo, it's like, yeah, like if I would have did X, Y, and Z, imagine how different my life would have been, But I'm not saying that in the terms of regret, because I don't really regret anything. But at the end of the day, I think it's important to realize that we're always going to be a project. We're never going to be finished. We're always going to be learning, and we're always going to be, updatable. Like the day we stop learning, the day we stop evolving is the day we start to die. And I think that's a thing that a lot of people don't want to realize, man. Is like they just want to be like, oh yeah, X, Y, and Z, yada yada yada. Like no, it's like you don't get to sit there and like say all this shit and do all this shit and not take accountability for it. It's like, I remember once one of my former friends, like she would always complain about X, Y, and Z, and I told her point blank, it's like, you always sit there and complain, you don't take accountability. You hook up with these dudes who aren't the best for you. You give chances to these dudes to get it right, and all they do is fuck it up because they don't care about you. And you have horrible taste in men. It's like you keep giving these guys chances to get right, and unbeknownst to you, like you keep dating the same version of the last guy that you dated. All the guys that you've dated are basically all the same. And I told her point blank, it's like your current boyfriend is a piece of shit. He's like, I told her, this is the dude that that crashed the party where we was at, made everybody else uncomfortable to the point where he was told to leave, and months later you popping up with him. You know, you sleeping with him, doing X, Y, and Z. And it's like, I don't understand that, because it's like, I don't see how you go from saying a guy makes you uncomfortable with X, Y, and Z to now you dating, now you sleeping with him, now you doing all this other shit. It's like yo, it's like, where's the common sense in all this? Because you don't get, like, you don't get to sit there and do all this shit and then think that it's okay when it's not, you know. And of course you got defensive, and but it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, I think it's something that has to be said. And I take relationships, friendships seriously. Relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a romantic relationship, whatever it is like, I'm that dude that's gonna be intense. You know what I mean? It's like, and I don't mean intense like I'm gonna try to control you, because I'm not. I'm too old for that shit. I'm just gonna treat people how they move. And if they move a certain way, let me move right out your way. I don't sit there and get caught up in situations that are none of my business. And I think that's the most chaotic thing, where people will try to use logic in an emotionally driven situation, and you can't. And because I'll be telling people straight up, it's like, yo, the reason why X, Y, and Z ain't happening because they don't want you like that, or the reason why, like, you had to give them an ultimatum to, for that person to commit to you, because they don't really want you all you want them. They're like, what? I was like, yeah, think about it. They say, if you got to give an ultimatum to somebody to have somebody act right, what's that tell you? People are like, what? I said, yeah, think about it. If you got to give an ultimatum to somebody to act right, what does that tell you? And that tells me that you're trying to control a situation that you have no control over. And on Mother's Day, I think about that a lot, because about everything that I've said. It's like, because a lot of women that I know, there's single mothers who, and I hate to use the word, but they're bitter single mothers. And what it comes down to is the fact that they're bitter because they know that they made a mistake, and now that they're left with nothing to show for it. Whether you've been married for, a year, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Some people I know they were married for 40 plus years and got divorced. Now that's crazy. Because, that actually happened to somebody that I know. They got served divorce papers in the mail. Husband split and never came back. So it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, bro, sometimes it's like, people will stick things out for as long as they can, hoping it would get better, and it doesn't. One of my favorite quotes from Steve Harvey, when he had a show, and there was this lady, she was married for like 10 or 12 years, and the guy was physically abusive, verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, and like, her friends kept telling her like, yo, like, you gotta leave, and this and this and that, and Steve was telling her like, look, you've been with this, like, you've been with this guy for like 15, 16 years, married for 10 or 12. You say he doesn't love you, you say he doesn't do X, Y, and Z. You want him to do another 15? You want to do, like, and she was kind of dumbstruck by it too. And she's like, what you mean? And he's like, you've already know the pattern. You know what the pattern is. Do you want to do more of the same thing? Meaning, do you want to get the same result that you've been getting? Because if you want something different, you have to do something different. And that's when she said no. And he's like, I don't want to be with the dude or X, Y, and Z. And he's like, well, it's simple, get divorced. And I guarantee you, most guys will just, like that, will gladly sign the divorce papers. Or very rarely will guys will file themselves. So it's something like 70% of women, like, file for divorce. But, men file too, right? But it's like, with men, it takes a lot more just to, like, actually go to the, you know, go to a legal doc place and get the divorce papers. Hell, you can even print that shit out online. And it's like, and that to me is like, when people file for divorce, bro, that means they've tried everything that they can to to make this shit work, and it doesn't. Like, they've done X, Y, they've done X, Y, and Z. Like, they've done the date nights, they've done the sexy lingerie, they've done X, Y, and Z, all this stuff. And I'm not a psychologist or anything like that too. I'm just a dude. I'm just a dude who thinks, or at least tries to think and tries to use logic. And I think at the end of the day, when you reach that point, when you know it's over, and you know there's no coming back, it's like you gotta respect that, bro, and you have to move accordingly. Like, I remember somebody told their significant other once, like, and they was already on the rocks, and I think they had gotten up or something, like, and he was making breakfast, and like he said, like, oh well, he asked her, like, oh, do you want breakfast? And she's like, no, I don't want nothing from you. I'm like, all right, well, shit, there's that. You know what I mean? And so it's like, and I'm like, so you have to look at the situation for what it is, and it's like you have to realize that, yo, it's like, it's, having kids with the right person matters. Having, being linked like that matters. Having somebody there who has their shit together matters. Now, I ain't saying having their shit together by how much money they make or whatever it is. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm like, what I mean by having your shit together is being emotionally intelligent, being emotionally available, and being a grown-up individual, mature individual, to accept accountability for your role in the situation. And it doesn't necessarily mean closure, because I've always thought closure was bullshit. Closure was a way for somebody to soften the blow of a situation not working out. But you can be mature enough to tell somebody else, like, hey, my apologies for what happened. What I did was immature. What I did was disrespectful. What I did was, it wasn't becoming of a grown man. It wasn't becoming of an adult that's mature. What I did was bullshit. Now, it doesn't mean that that leaves a door open for a rekindlement. That just means, look, I recognize what I did wrong, and this is me taking accountability. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to sit there and pretend to be fucking friends. If we don't want to be friends, that's cool. It doesn't mean that we have to sit there and pretend like, everything's hunky-dory with us, because it's not. But at the end of the day, it's like, forgiveness isn't for the other person, it's for you to move forward. And when you apologize, when you say, what I did was disrespectful, what I did was unbecoming of a mature adult, it was basically unemotionally intelligent, and it showed the growing that I have to do in that situation. That speaks volumes. And what I'm talking about is me. And I recently apologized to somebody that I used to be involved with. Something happened about 5 months ago, and I ran into them the other day, and I told them, like, hey, I gotta holler at you real quick. You got a couple minutes. And so we sat there, we had a conversation, and most of it was me just talking, and she was receptive to it. But I said, like, look, what I did back then was, leaving you on red and all this other shit. It was immature. It was disrespectful. It was not who I am, and for that I apologize. I told this individual, you deserved better from me, and you didn't get that. And I just wanted to apologize, and for my actions and for my behavior. And I ended the conversation with asking her, like, hey, are we good? And this and that. And she's like, yeah, we're good. You know what I mean? Well, it doesn't mean that we're gonna go back and be friends and whatever it is, because I don't go backwards with situations like that. You know, it's like I may see you in public or whatever it is, but I'm not gonna sit there and be like, oh yeah, like yeah, like we can link up and grab lunch. Like maybe in the future we can, but not now. And I think that's where like a lot of people get it. They get it misconstrued. They get it all screwed up because they think, oh well, I apologize, so we're good. Nah, it's like you can apologize and move forward and realize what you had, but at the same time, there's a reason why shit doesn't work out. There's a reason why things happen the way they happen, and it's like it doesn't mean that necessarily the other person is bad. It just means that a lot of the times it's it's something that you have to do. You have to take accountability. You have to take ownership of your actions, and if that makes the other person feel a certain way, and then that's fine. I'm never gonna sit there and pretend like I'm this well-to-do guy or whatever it is, because I'm not. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I don't have my flaws and my fuck ups and everything else, because I do. But the one thing I would never ever do, I would never ever make somebody feel less for, you know, my shortcomings, my bullshit. And I think that's important, man. It's like to take accountability 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 24/7. 24/7. It's like because we're all flawed, bro. Like I'm never gonna sit there and say that I'm perfect because I'm not. By taking accountability for your role in the situation and moving forward and being better, it just shows that a lot of people should be able to do that, you know. And I think when people can't do that or don't want to do that or don't want to move forward, I'm like, yo, there's like there's nothing there for you, bro. Like as crazy as that is, as chaotic as that shit is, it's like there's nothing here for you. And I don't mean to say that in a bad way. I'm just saying sometimes it's like you have to look at certain situations and you got to realize like, yo, a lot a lot of this shit has nothing to do with you. Sometimes people let their emotions cloud their judgment, and like they let their emotions ruin the situation. And I think that's something that they have to deal with, whether it's a friendship, a marriage, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is. It's like I've known people who've been dating people for 4, 5, 6 years, and the guy proposes, and the girl says no. Okay, if you don't want to get married, then why the fuck are you? Why were you in a committed relationship for that long? All you did was waste that person's time and waste your time too. So knowing what you want and going after what you want is paramount, bro. A lot of people don't want to do that, and it's sad, man. It's like they live in a constant fight or flight syndrome, or freeze mode, or decision fatigue, and it's like, bro, you got to make a decision and you got to stick with that. Anyway, y'all, this is about 34 minutes of your life that y'all won't get back. Hope y'all keeping it full peace. Private player, positive pushing. I will see y'all next week Sunday. I love y'all, and go kiss your mothers. Go hug your mothers. Wish them happy Mother's Day. I think today, me and my mom might be going out to the movies. It's a little tradition that we got, man. But yeah. Well, yeah, man. If your mother's still around, bro, kiss her, hug her. Let her know she's important. All right, y'all. Peace.